Hello, I'm the Hill Cemetery caretaker. In this tutorial, I'm going to build a mini fogger from an e-cigarette. There are two different styles we'll look at. The first will be that we will build is a unit that can be run off a controller, such as the Arduino. The other will run off a battery. Both are shown here in operation. We will build the controlled unit. Everything needed is shown here and can be purchased online other than the case, which is available for 3D printing from Thingiverse. The battery-operated unit requires a different case, which is also available at Thingiverse, some battery terminals, and of course the 18650 rechargeable battery. We will start wiring up the e-cig. This end is where the wiring goes. The casing is the negative side, while the knob in the middle is the positive. There are small holes on either side of the e-cigarette. I use these for the wiring. You'll need to rough up the metal using a rotary tool or other method to allow the solder to adhere properly. Even with a rough surface, the negative side will still need a high rosin solder to get good adhesion. The positive side is easier to solder. Just make sure you don't block any of the hole in the middle, as that's where airflow will pass to produce the fog. Any blockage of that hole will reduce the amount of fog produced. Next, you'll need a small section of 1/4-inch air tubing, about 2 inches or so. Cut a small slit in it to slide over the positive wire and around the airflow knob. Next, you'll need to fill the rest of the area with hot glue up to the lip of the e-cigarette. Finally, cut the airflow tube off as close to the e-cigarette as possible. Now we'll move on to the air pump. Be sure to note which is the positive terminal so you can line it up with a positive wire on the e-cigarette. Put more hot glue around the air pump nozzle, being careful again not to get any in the nozzle itself, or it will block the airflow. Glue the air pump to the e-cigarette, keeping the orientation of the terminals correct. Wire the e-cigarette wires to the air pump. Be sure the wires from the e-cigarette to the pump go over the square section of the pump. The case is not wide enough for them to go around this section. You will also need a short wire, about 4 inches or so, for the negative and a longer wire on the positive. That long wire should be long enough to reach to your controller. I was able to connect all of my wires right on the air pump terminals. However, if you can't, it's easy to solder them together along with a short wire to jumper to the terminal. Moving to the on-off switch, you'll need to snip off one of the outside posts. It doesn't matter which one it is. The base of the case has an upright with 2 small holes in it. Push the on-off switch into those holes, being gentle as it is a tight fit, but it still will wedge into place. Now you can solder a long negative wire onto the on-off switch. This wire needs to be long enough to reach to your controller. The final wiring is to connect the short wire from the negative terminal to the on-off switch. You can see in this photo that I didn't pay enough attention to the terminal orientation of the pump, and I had to crisscross my wires. You can run the wires that will connect to the controller through the 2 small holes on the top of the case. They are marked with a plus and a negative. We're almost done. You simply need to put the screw inserts in. I used a soldering iron to push the inserts in, being careful not to get the plastic too hot. Push it in part way, then let it cool down before finishing it up. Assemble the unit and you're all done. If you're making the battery option, you'll need to hot glue the terminals to each end of the case and bend the tab 90 degrees so you can solder wire to it. The negative with the spring goes on the end with the on-off switch, the positive to the other end. The bottom of the case does have a small passage to run the positive wire from one end to the other. With either option, you can fill it by unscrewing the black mouthpiece. Under that is the white atomizer. Be sure that that doesn't unscrew. The opening for filling is very small. It may be easier to use a small syringe to fill it. Just use your favorite fog juice and you're ready to go. You can see both units in operation here. They are at slightly different voltages, so the fog output is slightly different. I can run the Arduino off of the 3.3 volt setup. Thanks for watching and enjoy your build.